Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. It's very hot here today, so we're going to go for a swim on our lunch break, or at least Casper and I will. Rosie's more of a land dweller. But then we're going to go inside and do a video on uploading images from your device to Firebase cloud storage. I did this as part of a long-term series recently, but I thought it would be helpful to pull it out and show it as a video by itself. You will need an existing Flutter project and a Firebase project, and you'll need to have linked the two. If you need some help with that, I just did a video on that last week. It's about 10 minutes long. I'll put a link to it up here. So make sure you have that done first. I'm gonna go for my swim, go back into the AC, and we'll get started. Alright folks, so I have got my Firebase project here, and I have created a project that I've called Image Upload. I've done the steps necessary to connect the two, including my Firebase core package here in pubspec.yaml. So the very first thing I want to do is I want to make sure that I have storage enabled on my Firebase project. So in my console, I just want to click on this storage link here, and if I see this, then that means I haven't yet enabled storage. So I'm just going to click Get Started. This is going to tell me that it's going to set up these default rules, and I can click Next. This is going to tell me to pick the location of the storage. Oops, I don't want to go Asia. Let's just do US East 1. I'll click Done. And that's going to go ahead and set up my storage bucket. Now, once that's done, I am going to want to change the rules because we're not going to do any login on this application. So we want to be able to upload with unauthenticated users. The default is probably fine for a real application where you do have users logging in. All right, so I can see that I've got a bucket here. I'm going to click on rules, and I am going to just change this. Read is open, write is restricted to authorized users. So I'm just going to take everything out from there and just have it be allow read, comma, write, semicolon, and we'll go ahead and publish that, and we should be all set there. All right, so we're going to need a few packages to make this work. First of all, we're going to need the image picker package. So I'm going to go to pub.dev. I'm going to search image picker, and it's image_picker. Grab that dependency, and I am going to put it right down below Firebase core. And then to do the upload to Firebase storage, we can search Firebase storage. And this is the one we want here, Firebase_storage. So we'll grab that one too. Paste that below image picker, and we want one more, and it's called permission handler. So we'll search that, click on that, bring that in, and this is going to give us a little bit more fine-grained control over the permissions on the device. All right, so we'll save that, let Visual Studio Code bring that in, and we will go to our main.dart file and do a little bit of cleanup here. I'm just going to take out these comments here and these ones here. And then I'm going to get rid of everything from class my homepage down. And I'm going to replace this here with just home. Like that, and I'm going to create a home widget right below this class my app. So it's going to be a stateful widget. So I'm going to type STFL, hit enter, and I am going to call it home. And inside of my home widget, I'm going to build a really simple interface with an image on the top and a button right below it that allows us to upload that image. So I want to return a scaffold. Let's give it an app bar. We'll just give it an app bar that has a title, which is a text widget that says upload image. And then for the body, let's just do a column. We'll have some children, and so for the top, we'll put the image. If we don't have the image, we'll just put a placeholder widget. So why don't we come up to the top here, at the top of home state, and create ourselves a variable for image URL. And then here for our first child, we can say if image URL is not equal to null, then we will display a image.network, and we will just display that image URL. So we're going to upload to Firebase storage. It's going to give us a URL that we can feed to an image with the network specification. If that is null, then let's just put a placeholder there. And let's give that a fallback height of 200.0 and a fallback width of double.infinity. So just the full width. All right, and then next, let's do a raise button. And we'll give that a child, and that child will be a text widget that says upload image. We'll give it a color. We'll just give it a color of colors.lightblue, just so it's not the default gray. And we'll have to give it an on pressed, so we will just leave that blank for now. And maybe I'll put just a little bit of space in between the image and the raise button, just so we can have some space for our finger. So we'll just do a sized box and a height of, let's say, just 20 pixels. Put a comma there, and that will give it some space. And let me just follow that up with a semicolon. So we just need a function in here that when we on-press it, allows us to pick from our device, uploads to Firebase, gets that image URL, and populates this variable so that the image network can display. So let's give ourselves a separate function to do that. So let's come down here below the build method, but still inside the home state, and create a function that we will cleverly call upload image. And we're really looking to accomplish three things here. We're looking to check for permissions. We are wanting to select image, and we are wanting to upload to Firebase. All right, so let's start with checking for permissions. So the very first thing we need to do is make sure that our device is able to upload this image. So some packages are very good about handling permissions themselves. The geolocator package is one of those. It will prompt for the permissions, and if you grant those permissions, it will proceed, and it will proceed without a hiccup. The image picker package, I find, is not one of them. It doesn't have any functions to ask for permission by itself, and once it starts down the path and the device triggers the prompt for getting the permissions, once it gets them, it doesn't quite know what to do. And that's why I'm going to use the image handler to check for permissions up front and know that we have those before we proceed. Now, if we go back to image picker in pub.dev, we can see that there are some dependencies for setting up permissions in our file before we boot up the device. And for Android, there actually are none. It's a little bit deceptive here. It talks about a configuration for permissions for API less than 29. In my experience, if you try to put this API or this permission here in the Android manifest, and even if the API is less than 29, the whole thing crashes. It works without permission. So we're not going to do anything for Android. But for iOS, there are three different permissions that you need to grant in your info.plist file. The first is to be able to access the gallery, and that's the one we want for this one. The second is to use the camera. So if you wanted to take a picture like you do with Snapshot or Instagram and have that instantly go up to Firebase storage, then you would want to enable this second one. And the third is for the microphone if you are uploading video. So we really only need this first one. So let's go to iOS info plist. So we'll go to runner, we'll pull up info plist, and what we want is a key string value pairing. And so I'm just going to pick one and copy it just so I don't make any typos here. So I'm going to pick this one here with the UI main storyboard file, and I'm going to come down here inside the DICT tag at the end, and I'm going to replace this with this. And the string value is just an explanation as to why you need that. So permission to access photo gallery. All right, and that's all we need to access the gallery. If you want to be able to access the camera too, you do this. If you want the video, you would do this as well, so you could get the audio from the video. So we can close that. Now with all that in place, we'll be able to get a prompt, and we want that prompt to be right up front before we even try to use the picker. And so we're going to do that with permission. So we'll bring that in. And these are all the permissions that you can check for. We want photos. And what we want to do is actually prompt it to request for permission. And what that will do is if permissions have not yet been granted, it will prompt. And if they have been, it will do nothing. So we can do this right up front and not have any if clause to check if it's been done before. Now that is a future. So we want to await it. And that means that we're going to need to make this an async function. All right, so that will prompt the request. Now we just want to check and make sure that all of that actually worked. So we're going to create a variable called permission status. And we are going to await permission.photos.status. So this will check and see what the result of this prompt was. And so now we can say if permission status dot is granted, because if they denied it, we don't want to proceed, then we can give ourselves a function here to proceed. Else we're going to say we will just print grant permissions and try again. So this is not what you would want in a production app. You would want to fill in something more elegant here, but we'll print to the console and we can see what's going on. All right, so if we've gotten inside this block, we have permission to pick it from our gallery on our device. And so now we're ready to bring in image picker. And so to do that, let's go up to the top here and create an instance of picker. Like that, and we'll need to import image picker. When we pick the image, we are going to get back an object which is going to be called a picked file, and you can read about that in the documentation if you would like. It's down here, pick image, picked file. Knock yourself out with that, but we're going to create a variable that is a picked file. And we'll just call that image. So we're going to get a result back eventually, and we'll be able to write it to this picked file image. All right, so inside this block again, where we know that the permission has been granted, this is where we're going to select our image. So we'll put this here. And what we want to do is go to our picker, and we want to get an image, and it's going to ask for a source. We go image source dot. And we are going to say gallery. This is where you could come right from the camera if you wanted to. And if you would also set up the permissions for that. So this is a future picked file. So we want to await that, and that will get us a picked file. And that's what we're looking for here with our image. So we're going to set image equal to the awaited picker.get image. We are going to want to send a file to Firebase. And so let's create a variable called file, and we can create a file from our picked image by doing this. And we need to import Dart.io, not Dart.html, so make sure when you bring it in, you bring in Dart.io. You can check up here. And you can create a file simply from the path, and that is available from image.path. And so down here, we want to check and make sure we got an image back. So we say if image is not equal to null, then we want to proceed, else we will just print to the console and say no path received. And that might happen if you got an error. It might also happen if they just back out and cancel the pick. They don't pick an image. They get the no path received. And you could come in with something more meaningful here for a production app, but for our purposes here, writing to the console works just fine. So in this block here is where we want to upload to Firebase. We've got our permissions. We have a valid image. And so let's just come up to the top and let's create an instance of storage. So we'll do underscore storage, and we will set that equal to Firebase storage. Make sure we import that, and we want to do .instance like that. All right, and then for our storage, we can do storage.ref .child, and this is the path on the Firebase storage side. So if I do a string like this and I say, you could just do file name here and it will upload to the root of your storage, or you could do something like this, folder name / image name, like that, and it will write to a folder with folder name, and it will create an image called image name. You then want to put file, and this is asynchronous, so we can pass it our file. That's what it's looking for there. And then lastly, we want to do on complete. And so I said this is asynchronous. We're returning a future storage task snapshot. So we do want to await this. And we're going to create a variable, and we'll just call it snapshot and set that equal to that value there. Now, what can we do from the snapshot? We can do snapshot.ref, and we can get the download URL, which is exactly what we're looking for here. This is a future as well. And so let's create a variable called download URL, and let's set that equal to the awaited value there. Now that we have a downloaded URL, we can set our image URL, which we are looking for up here in our widget tree, equal to that value. So we could say set state image URL is equal to download URL. All right, and lastly, we need to hook up this image upload image function here. So let's come up to our onPressed. Let's do this, and we'll just do an anonymous function where we say upload image. So now I'm going to switch to my own screen here. If you can do this on your own device, it's going to be easier because an emulator is not going to have many pictures to choose from, if any at all. And so I see I've got this placeholder here. I've got this upload image. I click upload image. I get asked if I want to allow permissions. I say allow. And this is going to take me into my gallery here. And we're going to take a picture of Rosie here. It's going to send it up to the cloud. We're going to get the image URL, and there we go. So if I come back to my cloud storage, I can see that I now have a folder name, a folder called folder name, and an image called image name. And so we've hard-coded that image name. So if I go back in here and I pick out a different picture, like of us styling here, all three of us, that uploads, we get that back, and it's just going to override it here in my Firebase demo. So that's it. There's not actually a whole lot to it for all that's going on here. You just need to make sure you have the right permissions and you have a system for handling if things go wrong in that instance. You need to be able to pick off your device and then upload to cloud storage and get that download URL. So if you found this useful, please like, subscribe by all means. We thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Take care.